My name is Lindy from Project Portfolio Office, and in this video I'll be covering the Create Items from Template Project business rule. So this business rule is used to automatically create a default set of records when a project is added in PPO. So let me quickly take you through that. So the first step to using this rule is that you need to have a project as a template to copy from. So PPO out of the box has this templates and methodology project, which is used to copy health indicators, comments, and governance requirements from when a project is added in PPO. Our template projects are generally flagged as an admin project so that it doesn't pop up when doing reporting. So here you can see I have two template projects over here. So templates and methodology project is out of the box, and as I mentioned, it's used to copy a default set of health indicators, comments, as well as governance requirements to each and every project that is added. We can also have various business rules that trigger based on size or type or portfolio, that you potentially have different sets of governance for these specific types of projects. Okay, so if you have admin rights, if you hover over the administration tab, you just select business rules, and on my business rules list, I'm just going to focus on the ones that I've been sharing now. The entity it relates to is the project entity because it triggers on project add, and the type of business rule is create items from template project. So as mentioned, out of the box, a standard set of comments, health indicators, and governance requirements are added when projects are added on PPO. Okay, so for demonstration purposes, I'm going to drill into the create governance requirements using a template project. So I'm just going to drill into the business rule. So to start off with, we give it a short description, the entity that it relates to and what this rule does. Specifically for governance requirements, the entity that it relates to is project. When this rule should trigger is when a project is added, the rule is active. The type is create items from template project. Then we have the ability in the drop-down to select the specific template project that we want to copy from. On that template project, which entity do we want to copy from? And for this one, it's specifically governance. And then the data fields on the underlying records for governance, which fields do we want to copy over? So for governance, it would be the phase that the governance requirement is needed for, the required document type itself, and the status. Then in terms of conditions, and I'll get to the details here now, but if we either have different sizes of projects or different types or different portfolios, we could add conditions over here to trigger based on a specific condition. But this is what PPO does out of the box. So this is just the basic setup. If I want governance requirements to be different for a different type of project or a different portfolio, what I would do is duplicate this business rule and then just add conditions. So on my business rule list page, I would just click on add a new business rule using the add icon, and then it opens up a new page where I have the ability to add another rule. So this rule has the exact same details as the one that I just covered. This one I just want to trigger specifically where the portfolio is transform and grow. So it again relates to the project entity. The trigger is on add. It's the same rule that we are referring to, and I've created a new template project specifically for the transform and grow portfolio. The entity to copy from will again be governance requirements. The data fields that I want to copy is the phase, the required document, and the status. And I would just do that. And then in terms of the conditions, because I want this rule to specifically trigger only for transform and grow, I can add a condition here, select new values, and then open up my filter just to build the filter out quickly. So I give my filter a name. The field that I want it to trigger on is the portfolio type field. And I want it to trigger when the portfolio type equals transform and grow. So I would submit this filter item and submit the filter itself, and that would then be my new trigger for the new rule that I have now added. So if I just submit this one, I now have a rule specifically for transform and grow projects. What I would do in this scenario is my previous rule that already existed, I would update this one to, let's say, trigger only for regulatory projects. So if I just edit my existing rule, I can change the and then add a condition to only trigger when the portfolio is set as regulatory when I add my project. So here I just get my filter name. The field again that I'm using as my trigger is my portfolio type field, and I want this one to trigger specifically only when I select the portfolio as regulatory. So this filter item I can submit, and I can submit my full filter itself, and that then applies my condition to the business rule, which I can then submit. Based on the updates and addition of the governance requirements business rules for creating items from the template project, if I were to add a new project now, so there's only 2 rules that will trigger for governance requirements, and the trigger is the portfolio type field. Firstly, if I add a project where the type is regulatory, a separate set of governance requirements will create. Same with transform and grow will have its own default set of governance requirements. If I, however, add a project for run the business, there will be 0 requirements added when it comes to governance for those specific types of projects. So here I've just added my project. So I didn't touch on the health indicators and comments rules. So it inherits the same set as out of the box. And then for governance requirements, instead of having the initial 6 requirements, we only have 5 when it comes to our transform and grow portfolio. I hope you found this valuable. Thank you very much for watching.